Thanks for tuning in to more NASCAR talk with CJ Radoon from rotowire.com. CJ, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me again.
By the way, just concluded our fantasy draft with about 5 of your RotoWire compadres. So we have this new Dynasty Football League we started this year with the Our Lads Football Network. So we have 5 of our guys against, not necessarily against, but we just put it 5 and 5. Yeah, we don't want there to be only 5 guys trading with 5 other guys. So, but it went well. So John McKechnie, pretty nice guy. It's nice working with him. I'm not sure if you had the pleasure with working with John yet.
I have not actually, but football season's coming close and everybody's gearing up for it, and that's a big focus certainly around RotoWire these days.
Oh yeah.
Well, Hall of Fame game was that last week, and so we get into regular preseason here coming up, and season kicks off September 1st,
the second week.
Weekend.
Yep. Second week.
Exciting times.
Yeah, it's can't wait. Fans in the stands again, so that's great.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, and what was the other thing? Well, yeah, so we're at about that time, but also, I mean, it's just, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to check it out, but because it's relatively new, they've got the sports betting section at RotoWire.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've glanced at it, not spent a ton of time digging into it, but
John runs that, so hopefully we'll be able to do some stuff with John real soon. I gotta kind of, once his football season gets kicked off and got a little bit more time to check out and figure out exactly what he's doing with that, maybe there's some really cool things that we can do, especially with NASCAR, because I know NASCAR isn't at the top of the totem pole at RotoWire, but still, you know, we get a pretty good following on the show, and we're going to do our best to handicap this week's race, which is not going to be easy to handicap since I've never raced at this racetrack before, the road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hopefully we'll be able to get, I'm not sure what Eric's schedule is because his baby is due. So I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to talk to Eric over the weekend. Matter of fact, Sage Karam is racing this weekend at Indianapolis in the Xfinity Series. So we're trying to hook up the interview with Eric to do that. But again, it all depends on whether his baby's come yet. I haven't seen any tweets about him, you know, having a baby. So I'm assuming he hasn't had it yet, or his wife hasn't had it yet.
I'm assuming he hasn't had it either. I don't know if we're the first ones he's going to call from the delivery room or text from, but yeah, we should hear, I'm sure, when it does.
Good timing. So, yeah. Indianapolis Motor Speedway week. Eric's got to figure that out next time, best he can. See, what is it? 8 months? 9 months?
9. Yeah.
So yeah, he's got to figure that out next time. All right, now last week, let's just recap what happened last week. Because if either way, you had your top 3 fantasy drivers fighting for the lead. So it didn't matter really who won. You tell me then, because you're pretty neutral with the 3. I kind of look at it as a couple things. Okay. I understand why Kyle did what he did, but it's like, dude, seriously. I mean, you know, you're not in the playoffs. He's basically still a rookie. Did you have to do that? And on the flip side, I'm like, okay, well, are we finally going to get some action in the pit area after the race? Why would I think of such a thing? Of course not. Christopher Bell and all these young drivers always get their, you know, indoctrination lessons, and we've always talked about that. This might be his official lesson. It's disappointing. It really is. If this happened 5 or 6 years ago, we'd have fisticuffs on pit road, and that's the thing that I take out of it more than anything is that, you know, guys can kind of wreck guys, and it's just nobody cares. There's not enough emotion. Let's just put it that way. They care, but it's just not enough emotion that fans want to see. NASCAR's always interested in what the fans want to see. Well, come on. Maybe you should find the drivers for not fighting.
It was interesting. I give full credit to Larson. I think that was one of the first things he said when he got out of the car, was trying to apologize. He's obviously a veteran, very good at his game, and doesn't need to do things like that, and shouldn't be making those types of mistakes if in fact it was a mistake. Christopher Bell, I don't know if that's his indoctrination or not, because I don't know that he's ever really ruffled any feathers. He was just kind of on the end of a brain lapse or something there. But it might be simmering under the surface, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that it's a new generation. But Bell is refusing to talk to him, to Larson. So Larson has tried to reach out. Bell has refused to talk to him, and now Larson's calling him out in the media, saying that, I don't know why you wouldn't talk about something like that, why you wouldn't try to work through it.
Who's calling who out?
Larson's calling Bell out.
Larson's calling Bell out. Okay.
So I think if you look at the William Byrons, Christopher Bells, this new kind of breed, there are very few that would actually go, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen from them growing up in the series, is the three top series, that they would go and actually have fisticuffs or fight somebody physically. The only one that would do that, it seems, is Noah Gragson. So I think if and when Noah Gragson gets his way into the Cup Series, I think we will see that from him. He will be, the Tony Stewart kind of roughhouse guy for sure.
I'm a fan already.
Yep, exactly right. I am as well. But I think this new polished, thinking about the sponsors early into the big names, the Hendricks, the Joe Gibbs kinds of cars, I think they're probably a little bit nervous, and they've been taught their entire lives to put on that sponsor face, put on the corporate face, put on the organization face, and kind of tamper down any kind of true raw emotion that you might have seen from the Tony Stewart kind of days, which is not great for fans. No. But we might see it bubble over with the fact that he's just refusing to talk to Larson. Maybe. And Larson continuing to needle him with calling him out in the press.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get into the picks here in a little while. It might even have an impact on what happens on Sunday. It could.
Yep.
So matter of fact, we all have Christopher Bell this week. He is the only driver we all picked. And the only thing that I'm worried about is I'd like to see him be aggressive at the time, when the time is right. Let's say if he can give him payback again on Sunday. What I don't want to see is him wrecking himself if he's going to go ahead and give payback. So that's the only thing.
Yeah.
But I might be willing to take the chance. I don't know. I let's put it this way: I'd rather be in Bell's shoes than Larson's shoes.
Absolutely.
So at least there's that.
At this point, neither one of them have anything to lose. They're both in the playoffs. Yes. They've both got. Obviously, Bell would be more hungry for wins considering the position that Larson's in. So neither one of them have anything to lose, but I completely agree with you. If I were one of the two, I would much prefer to be in Bell's shoes right now.
All right, so what happened to Chase Elliott last week? What happened before the race?
So this was obviously not a qualifying race, so everything was set by the formula. Chase Elliott had a nice starting position. I think it was 11th, if I'm not mistaken, if not inside the top 10. He ended up having inspection issues, and I'm not sure exactly where or what. I didn't hear them say specifically what the infraction was, but it was multiple times. So Gustafson got thrown out, and Chase lost his spot and sent to the back. And then you've got him charging through the field, which would have been great, except that he then had to come into the pits, and did he flat spot? Was he the one that flat spotted his tires and had to come in, or something happened?
Yeah,
he had to come in.
I guess the question I have then is if Chase Elliott is that dominant on a road course, what do you I don't understand what you're screwing around with. Seriously. I mean, I'd rather just be extra careful because he's that better than everybody on a road course. Let them have an advantage. Let them have a little bit of an advantage so you're not even close to that line that you have to worry about. I just think that's stupid. That is dumb. That is egotistically dumb to put your driver in that position. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And I was watching before, what was it? Either the truck race or the Xfinity race. One of them was delayed because of lightning. I think it was Xfinity was delayed because, and they started showing one of the Dale Jr. downloads, and he had brought Jimmy Spencer in. And one of the topics was cheating cars and ingenuity. And it was fascinating to hear their perspectives. And Dale said, I don't think at any point in any race in my entire career did I ever line up to start a race in a quote unquote legal car. He said, in fact, I tell my crew chiefs on my team that you got to be pushing the limit. And sure. Jimmy Spencer agreed with him. So, everybody's got it. But to your point, if everybody's got it, Chase gets caught. He goes to the back twice and still comes up and almost is able to catch Larson for the win.
Then what were you doing?
You got to dial it back one notch.
That's all I'm saying. We all know that they're cheating. We all get that. They don't all get caught. We understand it, but not on a road course. If you're the road course king, there's no reason for it. So now we'll find out how that affects Chase this week. I don't think it will. He's back to being the favorite again. I can't imagine that the drivers look, unless you're Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, let's see, maybe Ross Chastain, Ryan Briscoe, and just a couple other guys. I would say 75% of the drivers out there are probably sick and tired of all these road courses.
Yeah, probably. I some quotes today that a lot of them were upset that they lost the crown jewel of the Indianapolis Oval going to the road course.
I'm okay with it. I still prefer that was garbage. That's just, we don't want to see that.
Completely agree. I think that is hidden in the veil of some of we've heard the comments all season. The schedule is not their favorite for sure. And being able to focus on the road course. I think that's why you see like an Austin Syndrick being promoted very quickly, because he's so good on the road courses. And it's a good chance, for all these other guys that have a little bit more road racing experience to come up and get some good finishes. But yeah, I don't get the impression that probably 60% of the field is altogether out the new schedule.
Now, there's no road courses in the playoffs?
There is the Charlotte Roval.
Oh, so the Charlotte race is the Roval. Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right, so that makes sense.
October 10th.
The only thing that I don't like about the scheduling specifically is just the condensed nature of the road courses. Mm-hmm. You have to spread them out. We can't back to back. Come on. That's just not good. I don't want to see back to back. I don't want to see, 4 and 6 or 4 and 7, whatever it is, or most of them over the past 2 months. It's too much. Especially again, look, we all like the newness and the freshness of the road courses. That's not the issue. The issue is it's the same guys dominating. It doesn't do anything for the fans. They're always worried about the fans. Well, we don't want to see this. I don't want to see it's Chase Elliott, it's Kyle Larson, because now Kyle Larson, remember, said last week he hadn't had any success at Watkins Glen, just like he hadn't had success on some of these other road courses. Well, he's turned the switch on that at a couple of different road courses this year. So now it's Chase Elliott is the road course king 1, and Kyle Larson is now, you could say, the road course king B, A and B. And even Martin Truex, who we thought was a road course king last year, he's kind of like that second tier. He's not even anywhere near close to Larson and Elliott. So fast, how quickly it's Elliott, it's Larson, and as long as they don't screw it up on pit road or with crew chief miscalculations before the race, they're going to wind up probably winning the race.
Yeah, exactly right. And they finished 1, 2, 3 at Watkins Glen, and lo and behold, Kyle Busch, road course king number.
He's probably 3. Probably right, like 2B behind Truex. Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, you've got the Phoenix championship scenario where the 4 contenders just rise to the top.
Yeah. So
go
ahead.
I like the road courses. I agree. Too many back-to-back make it challenging, especially when you've got the ones that completely dominate it. I would like to see the cars be a little bit more competitive through the road courses. It's one thing to have somebody super fast chasing down somebody who's got a great lead, but it's another thing to see guys corner versus corner, side by side the entire time, just battling to pass one another. That was Chase Elliott's first win at Watkins Glen, was a race like that. Marcus Ambrose's wins came like that. It was really door to door, wheel. Those were great races. We just aren't seeing that on the road courses this year.
Yeah, and I will say this, after getting through the road course season, I think Watkins Glen has been the best road course in my mind.
Agreed. Yeah. Totally agree. It's like to me, it's like a super speedway of the road courses. They use the shortened version of the track. The cars fly through the S's, and then they get that great run down into the chicane. So there are ample opportunities to outbrake your opponents for passing. It's not like Sears Point, which is narrow and very twisty, and really there's only one spot that you can pass. So the Watkins Glen setup is perfect for NASCAR. It produced the best race on all the road courses so far. And my goodness, am I sick of Rovals. I don't want to see Daytona Roval. I don't want to see Indianapolis. I don't want to see Charlotte Roval. I want to see the Road Americas. Those types of courses are the ones that I want to see.
Okay, so Chase Elliott again, the 2-1 favorite. Kyle Larson, the 3-1 favorite. It's just like last week, and sort of like last week, nobody's putting any money on Kyle Larson. But it's going to be difficult still a little bit, because look, I can understand why both of you guys look. If you're going to take anybody this week as far as a favorite, you have to take one of them. You just can't take 2 of them. You could, but then it's what are you going to do there? You're just breaking even if one of them wins, and that's it. So maybe that's a strategy you would have if you were maybe
in the money.
Yes, which is not where we're at right now. So you got to choose. Both of you guys chose Elliott, and I understand why. Again, he's still the best. He didn't win last week. You would expect him. And just like I said last week, and I say the same thing, is if there's 2 different strategies you can go in my mind. See, you guys took Elliott. What I would have done is, if I was going to take Elliott, I would have just put it all on Elliott. I would have either put it all on Elliott to try to come out of there with $100, actually $200, or I would just stay away from them. In my opinion, what I'm going to do is still, even though I'm not taking Elliott this week, he's still going to be my pick over Larson. I'll use Elliott in like other parlays with some other sports. So and I've already done that. Like, I'll take a couple of I do handicapping for golf, and then we'll do the IndyCar as well. But the golf, if I have a 10-1 shot or a 12-1 shot or a 15-1 shot, like for instance, I think Hideki Matsuyama is 16-1 to win this week. So Masters champ, lost on a playoff last week, second choice to win this week in the event, 16-1. So what I decided to do was, instead of putting 10 or whatever on Matsuyama, because my budget isn't that big, I just put $2 on Matsuyama and Chase Elliott, and I can make $100. So instead of making $30 with Matsuyama only, I'll risk that, so I can go ahead, if Elliott wins, and make $70 more, and I only have to wager $2. So that's the strategy I'm going to use whenever I'm in that situation. But like I said, I can see why you guys chose Elliott over Larson.
Yeah, I think Elliot, like you said, he's still the road course king. You alluded to it at the beginning with your question as to why they would even bother pushing the edge, pushing the envelope on the inspection and the cheating issues. If he's able to drop exactly right. If you're able to drop to the back twice
and almost win. That would have been great if we had a late caution last week.
Oh yeah,
but of course it didn't happen. We never get the cautions when we want.
And get them when we don't want them. Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, there's practice and qualifying this weekend. I just, unless something stupid bonehead happens, I can't see Elliot not being first or second again.
The only thing is if it is the two of them, I would still be concerned a little bit with, would they get real physical, in the last lap or two? Because they're not exactly teammates. Well, they are, excuse me. Now they are.
They are
teammates, yep. They're not, you would hope that, because even though they're teammates, you would hope that they're not in the playoffs. They're not fighting for something. So just have fun. I don't know if they would, though. I would bet they wouldn't.
Depending on how much it costs for the damage that they cause, that might determine how much they're willing to throw.
That's the thing, yeah. But aren't they at a point where it doesn't matter? Maybe I would think Larson has earned enough respect after what happened last year, but Elliot definitely. Elliot can wreck his car. No, I mean, he has nothing to worry about. Come on.
You still have one road course, though, so saving your car for a road course that is in the playoffs is definitely to consider here. So obviously they don't have as many cars as they used to have in the past, but I guarantee you they've got a road course specific car, and probably the one that Chase used at Watkins Glen is the same one that he's going to use here. Likely have that tag for Charlotte as well. So that might be the main mitigating factor in them really going at one another.
Okay, now Truex, you decided to put $20 on Truex, which is almost half of what you had left, and I can see why. Again, he was right there with the other two top drivers last week. The only thing with Truex, though, that I'm still concerned with is that he appeared to be the third of of really the three, yes. And when it came down to it, the way Elliot came back, he was probably the fourth of the because Bell didn't end up in the top three, and that would be a little bit concerning, especially since Truex is still at this point. Just taking a look recently, he does have 2 third-place finishes over his last 3, but he had not had a top 5 before that since Sonoma. So he's gonna do well. I don't think there's any question about that. And the good part is you're getting double the money.
Yeah, same concerns going through my head with Truex. I feel like he's started to find his footing a little bit more again on the road courses for like we saw him last year, expected of him last year. He's almost there fighting for the win. Solid top 5 kind of day, and led some laps and was there. So with qualifying practice, I don't know, maybe if he's able to take that half step forward, but I think the same applies for Martin Truex at even the ovals that we go to as well. Unless you're on a 1 mile oval, I think he's just been half a step behind guys like Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott and some of the other ones. And that's been the story of his season. So yeah, that's a concern for this weekend. I'm just banking on practice and qualifying, doing a little bit more for him.
And Kyle Busch at 9-1. So you get pretty good odds on Kyle, and both of you guys.
How do you not take Kyle Busch on a road course at 9-1?
It's, I'll talk about my strategy a little bit later on, but yes, it makes sense that if you're going to use your money the way that you guys are using the second half of your money, that you would definitely include Kyle.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch, like you said, he's 1C, 2B, whatever you want to call it. Very competent road course racer, and we saw that again last weekend. No reason to think that he wouldn't do the same again this weekend at Indianapolis. He's been good on the the Roval type of road courses as well as the natural terrain courses. I think is a little bit better on the natural terrain courses. But again, it's another weekend where Kyle Busch has practice and qualifying, so I think that'll play to his benefit as well.
Okay, Denny Hamlin at Denny Hamlin at 12-1 was okay last week, and I know the result was good, but he's not leading laps. I'm not overly, and look, 12-1 you like. He's still a notch down. Like if Kyle's at 2, Hamlin's a 3, so he's a good road course driver compared to others, but he's not near the best. And I still don't like where he is right now. The only thing I like about it is the odds.
Totally agree. You need those top 4 or 5 to have serious problems or drop out for somebody like Denny Hamlin. It seems to be able to win this weekend. Put him back in an oval, and I'm going back to choosing him every week until he wins. But the road courses, like you said, he's not in that top bracket of drivers right now. Solid, but certainly not capable of going out there and leading the laps, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, Hamlin is, again, consistent enough, but still nowhere near the driver he was at the start of the season. Okay.
He's never won on a road course either, so through his entire career. Does he?
Yeah, it was he that was I forget what, that was like 3 years ago, I think. He won late. I'm pretty sure.
I don't even. Was it Sonoma, maybe?
Might be.
Yeah, I seem to remember that.
Yeah. I think there was like a wreck somehow late. Somebody wrecked or something. I don't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure he's got 1 road course win. Okay. Now comes Christopher Bell. And I was actually surprised that last week Christopher Bell was 15-1. And this week he's 18-1. Okay? What the hell? What were you watching? Both of you guys put a little bit of money on Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you noticed what I did?
I did.
Yes. So I just went crazy and said, you know what? I'm sick of being really down. Like $1,000. Let me make it all up with one race if I can. And why not this week? So I put 70 of my 100 on Bell to make $1,260. And I am just, look, we said it even last week. He is back to racing as best as he's raced all season. And if he doesn't get wrecked, he has a great chance to win the race on Sunday. And so that momentum isn't gone as far as I'm concerned yet. Back to the road course we go. And as we talked about before, if he does have to go up against Kyle Larson again, well, there's no way he's getting wrecked. So, or at least, that would be crazy. Maybe we would finally see fisticuffs if that happened. But yeah, I'm just going to ride the momentum at 18-1 and say, okay, instead of putting the same amount of money on Elliot at 2-1, I'll put almost the same amount of money invested and do it on Christopher Bell, who is dialed in on the road courses this year.
Yeah, Christopher Bell on the road courses is fantastic. That's where he has his win from. We talked about this last week, and he backed it up at Watkins Glen. And this is a place where Xfinity races, has raced and does continue to race. So he's got experience on the track. And he's looking as good as he ever has, both on road courses and ovals. So to think that he's going to come to a place where a lot of these guys don't have experience on the configuration, he does. He's at the top of his game from a road course perspective, and he's got a bone to pick with the guy who won last week. So he feels like he's owed a win. I think he's going to come out swinging, and I'm surprised that his odds actually dropped from week to week. But that was a no-brainer as soon as I saw that. Yeah. He was going in the choice no matter what.
So yeah, we'll see how it all goes, because he was second at Road of America not too long ago and had the road course win already under his belt, and then very nearly won another one on Sunday. Okay, Logano at let's see, where should I go? I tell you what, AJ and Byron are 20-1. AJ, of course, racing as a road course kind of dude, along with a couple other guys. Byron actually had a good result last week, which was good for him because he was a disaster coming into last week on the road course races, but it's still asking a lot for Byron to win a race. And I still think when you're talking about drivers, like AJ, like Syndrick. Even though Syndrick at least is 30-1, you're looking at long shots. I'm not gonna debate anybody if you want to throw a couple bucks on long shots. But it's really hard, and that's why I always stay away from these ringer road course drivers who have kind of favorite money, because it's not about the driver. It's about his team. It's about the equipment. They don't have it. And you always see something screwing up at a race like that. It's always something like they go on pit road and something happens on pit road, or something happens to the engine, and it's just hard. It's that's the reason why these drivers should always be long shots, when even if they're ringers.
Yeah, completely agree. AJ Allmendinger demonstrated that in the truck race last week. He started the truck race. He's obviously got the full-time Xfinity ride. Would have been a favorite to win in either series, but stepping over to the trucks is something that he rarely does. Had the opportunity to do it at Watkins Glen. Why not? A place where he is fantastic and has wins from his career. And exactly what you said is what played out. He ended up having issues and spent most of the time going into the pits off sequence, and really lost the tail end of the field and wasn't able to keep up. He should have been, with the proper team and proper equipment, should have been one certainly fighting for the lead. But like you said, it's a team sport. If you're not stepping into one of the top teams as a road course ringer, you're not going to get the job done these days. We've talked about it starting, I think, last year, if not the year before, that these guys are just too good. There are too many young drivers that have grown up road course racing. There are too many veteran drivers that have honed their skills and really stepped up their game on road course racing to be able to come in like a one-off type of deal and get the job done, even in the truck series, as AJ Allmendinger demonstrated. So when you get to the top end of the sport in the Cup Series, there's just no way it's going to happen. Austin Syndrick is a long shot for sure, so definitely worth going and putting a couple bucks on him, because he's been great in Xfinity. He leads laps when he's there in Cup. I guarantee you he's going to qualify near the front of the field, may even lead some laps. He's just got to get through that team thing. Last time out at Road America, they had a mechanical issue. He had to drop out of the lead, come in, and ended up dropping out of the race. But just those few laps, you can see his potential coming through, which is why I put a couple dollars on him. But yeah, the level of competition in the Cup Series and any of the NASCAR series now these days on the road courses, you can't do a one-off and come in and be successful. The only person I think that maybe came close would have been like Kaz Grala when he stepped in for Austin Dillon when he had the COVID. So, but again, that proves my point. You're stepping into one of the top teams, Richard Childress Racing. So that's the only way you're going to have the ability to do a one-off and be, somewhat competitive.
What was Marcus Ambrose?
He was a ringer for quite some time, but then ultimately got a full-time ride. And once he got the full-time ride, that was when he was working with the team every single week. So they knew each other and had the ability to develop what they needed. And they knew every single year that the road courses were the place where he was going to be able to get it done. So
but they still had problems. That was the thing.
Exactly.
And that's because they weren't a top team, though.
Exactly right.
And what is AJ's with Colleague? Correct.
Colleague, and Colleague's coming up, so it's a trial run again for Colleague coming up to the Cup Series next year.
Okay, and then Syndrick though is with Penske.
Yes.
Okay, so that gives him a little bit better of an opportunity for sure, and that's the driver that you decided to put a little money on, Syndrick, at 30-1. Okay, and then Logano. Eric put a few bucks on Logano at 25-1. I completely understand. I actually would have, but his road course momentum stopped in my mind last week, so I just decided to stay away. But he's still a good value. You can never tell with Logano. There's something about, though, in general, Penske it's just not working out on the road courses this year. When Logano's been the best. But they're not really where they normally are in regular race courses.
Yeah, and I blame last week's issues completely on Keselowski. They were racing 1-2. Keselowski
what was the problem with the car?
Luckily, he was wheel hopping the first time, and I presume that's what caused the second issue as well, because it was a similar situation where he went down into the grass, and it just so happened that Logano was there and got taken out. So, yeah, fully to blame. I think Logano, if he can steer clear of Keselowski this week, he's going to have a better week. But if you're going to go with a Penske guy, I can see going with Logano, maybe a Blaney, because it's a Roval type of configuration, which Blaney seems to be able to do better at. I'm going to go a little bit longer and pick the Syndrick.
Harvick and Bowman are around 30-1. Then you mentioned Syndrick at 30-1, Blaney 35-1, Briscoe at 35-1, and Eric and I put money on Briscoe. And actually, I decided to kind of break up, since I put most of my money on Bell 70. I decided, instead of putting like $2 or $3 on these long shots, I just put $10 each on 3 long shots, and that one of them is Briscoe. And I figured, why not? The way Briscoe has been going on the road courses, finishing 6th, 6th, and 9th on 3 recent road courses.
Yep, I put him as my surprise of the week from last week in my rotowire.com article from the race recap, even though I prefaced it and said Chase Briscoe at this point on road courses should not be considered a surprise, but nonetheless, it seems like people continue to discount him. He's got 3 top 10s, and they're all road courses. So I don't know where you're gonna find any better, certainly than him. And if he's gonna eke out a win and something weird's gonna happen, it's gonna be on a road course. Yep. So go with a very good choice.
I give him a better chance on the road course than I do Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Completely agree.
And then you've got 40-1 drivers: Reddick, Keselowski, Chastain, and Kurt Busch. For me, it was Chastain. And again, why not? You know, he's been real solid on the road courses this year. Reddick is a good fantasy driver as well, because he just keeps popping in top 12s no matter where he drives.
He's doing exactly what he needs to be able to qualify for the playoffs and beat out Austin Dillon. And it's a couple of weeks in a row now where he's gotten stage points. He's gotten the finish that he needs ahead of Austin Dillon, where Dillon's faltered a little bit throughout the race. And Dillon's never been known as a great road course racer, but certainly Tyler Reddick's stepping it up. And Chastain, another very good pick, 12th last week. And then go back to Road America, he was 7th.
Okay, and then we turn to some longer shots, and the last one that I put some money on was Dee Benedetto at 60-1. And I just, again, why not? You know, he's in a nice little groove, so sort of like Reddick. He's throwing, you know, some top 12s out there recently, and he's another one that needs a win. And he's going to do whatever he can to get it. And he's considering he's a long shot, he's a halfway decent road course long shot driver.
Yeah, I think here in Daytona are the 2 places where you got to look at Dee Benedetto. I liked him a little bit better last week at Watkins Glen because he's got the history of being able to score top 10s there. He's done it. This week, it's a new track for him, so it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to it. But nonetheless, he's proven himself very capable of running inside the top 10 at road courses, and that's no small feat talked about within the series.
Okay, now as far as the playoff standings, as we wrap up here, what do we have? We have 3 more races to go. This is the last of the road courses for the regular season, thank goodness. Only 1 more of these the rest of the season. Then it's Michigan and Daytona. And Michigan's the last, like, normal kind of racetrack. And then Daytona, anything can happen. So as far as what are we down to here? Is it still like Reddick and Dillon? Is that it?
The only thing I can see
points-wise, yeah.
Points-wise is Reddick and Dillon. It's a 120 point gap from Dillon back to Chris Buescher. And then it's an 80 point gap up to Kevin Harvick from Reddick. So there's a significant amount of ground, insurmountable from a 3 race perspective, unless somebody comes out and wins.
Okay. And how many more spots? There's only 3 spots left for
3.
Anybody if they won.
3 spots. We got Hamlin, Harvick, and Reddick's keeping them.
Hamlin's going to get the guaranteed one. So if somebody out of the blue wins this week, then all of a sudden Daytona means anything could happen. And Harvick would be in big trouble.
Kevin Harvick getting knocked out. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But this is it, basically. If Harvick can survive this week without a driver that's on the outside, then he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
All right. What's going on for your RotoWire weekend?
Well, we've got a doubleheader this weekend in Xfinity on Saturday, along with IndyCar, and then also the Cup Series. So I'll have fantasy previews up for the Xfinity race on Saturday and Cup race on Sunday. They'll both be up on Friday, though. And then we'll do a Cup race recap on Monday.
And then, again, Sage Karam's going to be in the Xfinity race. So, as I mentioned at the Open, who knows if we're going to be able to talk to Eric tomorrow, this weekend. I have no idea. I'll contact him at some point later today to see what the deal is. Because we didn't even get the odds for the IndyCar race until Friday. So I don't know why they wait so long to put out odds for IndyCar. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. What's the difference if you put the odds out on Wednesday to Friday? Nothing changes.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I could think of possibly qualifying in practice, but that doesn't make much sense either.
Practice is usually when during the week?
Practice is usually Friday, and then you have
Friday. Okay.
And then, IndyCar is still on the 3-day race weekend. They're not doing this NASCAR thing where you just show up on. IndyCar is relatively predictable. It's competitive, but it's relatively predictable. So my only guess is that they're waiting for qualifying or practice, but on-track activity. But you can probably pick out, generally speaking, who's going to be the top and then tweak it after those.
It looked like it was a success. There was a lot of fans there.
A lot of fans there. I'm not a fan of the track. It was not the missteps with the red flags and the number of incidents in terms of how the track is designed. I think they need to open that a little bit more so that they can keep the race running. It was very confusing, certainly with the pit exit and the blend line. So they've got a couple of things to clean up, but I think the fan support is there. I think in general, it's a great concept. So as long as you can fix those things for next year, I think it'll be a better race next year. But yeah, it turned out to be a success despite all of the other issues.
And the only reason why that would be good is because a lot of crazy stuff happened, and it wasn't like a typical IndyCar race that you can get, where if someone like Colton Herta, if he's dominating the whole week, that he's going to just dominate the race. And if it wasn't for the issues in the race, he probably would have dominated the race.
That is a fair point. Without those issues, he was definitely thrown onto the back foot. Without those issues, he likely would have gone out and dominated the whole thing because he was the fastest car. It was very interesting to see how defensive driving got Ericsson to hold him behind and actually have Herta make the mistake. So something that Formula One is famous for, Ericsson put it to good use. Herta's got a little bit to learn there. But yeah, I think to your point, I think the mishaps probably played to make it a little bit more exciting, a little more unpredictable, certainly.
My friend who lives in Colombia now, he called me and he was like, I don't understand what's going on here. I'm watching the beginning of this race hasn't started. I'm looking at the fans. I thought you had a pandemic going on over there. All I hear on the news all day is like, oh, you got this crazy this variant going on and it's going crazy over there. And then I turn on the TV and everybody's next to each other with no masks on. He goes, what's going on over there? I go, don't you know better than to listen to the media? Plus you're dealing with Nashville. Okay. They're not racing in New York. So they could give a shit what Washington, D.C. and New York have to say about this so-called variant issue. I think it's great. It was so awesome watching all those fans out there, and everybody was just side by side, and it's like most everybody didn't have a mask on, and the reason is because football season is around the corner, and I don't want anything to screw up with that. And I just think that the more you see this happening, especially with people going to the games and everybody showing up and the way that they showed up at the track this past Sunday, it's almost like you're not going to screw with us again. So don't try it. We're not going to listen, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, it would be up to the NFL and up to the IndyCar. They could always put their rules back in place, and they probably would. But I think it's a really good reaction by the fans that might be the main reason why nothing is going on, and I don't think anything will, as far as anything changing regarding the guidelines of fans going to these sporting events.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It was fantastic to see fans out and have such great support at a new race at a great place like Nashville. It's interesting. You brought up soccer last week, so I'll bring it up this week on the topic, the Euro Championships over the summer. It was fascinating to see they had games take place in various countries. Usually they just have one country that hosts all of the games. This year they had it in England, they had it in Hungary, they had it in Germany, they had it all over the place. You go to England stands and it's maybe 10% of the total capacity. So it's virtually empty. Many of the other European stadiums, a very small percentage. Then you get to the Hungary game. Every single game played in Budapest was a sell-out crowd of 60,000, 70,000 people.
I didn't think I didn't really know a lot about Hungary until this week. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Hungary's not a bad place after all.
It was so awesome to see. And the disdain of why are there so many people in this soccer stadium? Exactly.
That's what they're doing. They're saying, yeah. So
it was great.
Yeah. It is what it is nowadays. But yeah, so I think that'll have a big effect, especially once they get these preseason games going again.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be a really good showing at a lot of these games. Normally you get probably half the crowd. I wouldn't be surprised if you had close to some sellouts at some of these games because they've been starving to get back into these stadiums. So it'll be interesting.
It's going to be great to see.
And college football too, coming before you know it. So can't wait. All right, CJ. So what do we got going on? We got Michigan next week, correct?
Michigan is next week.
Did they already race this year, Michigan?
What was that?
They didn't race this year at Michigan, have they?
Nope. The first one.
Okay.
This will be the first and only one.
And Michigan is like what other track?
Used to be like Fontana. That's now being converted into a short track whenever the COVID regulations in California allow construction workers to go.
What kind of a short track?
High banked short track. So I think they're trying to mimic Bristol.
Really?
I haven't seen a layout yet, but they're trying to change Fontana into a short track, high banked oval.
But you say they have to wait for regulations, so that's about 10 years before that gets
probably
done?
The way California is going, probably.
Yeah. Unless Larry Elder takes over and becomes the governor of California.
Yep, exactly.
Which I think would just be, that'd be like, I'd be tuning in for those press conferences, and I'd be tuning into anything that's going on in California if he became governor. That'd be hilarious. So, all right. We'll talk again next week, CJ. Appreciate it as always.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.